Madhyoli Charanam, Jayananda Lala, everybody. Like I said, today's topic is the ever-waiting, everybody is waiting for this topic today, the goddess Kamakshi, the beautiful Lalita Tripura Sundari is the topic today. So always we have to go to the roots, right? How did Kamakshi come to be? She's a beautiful avataram of goddess Parvati. And that's basic. I think we all know, most of us know that. But how did she come to be? How did Kamakshi come to be? As always, Lord Shiva and Goddess Parvati, they spend a lot of time playing dice. And most of the time, Lord Shiva wins. Most of the time. And the goddess also wins when he allows her to win. Yes, they play with each other like this with their leelas, So one time the goddess was so upset that he's winning every time. So what did she do? She put her hand and closed his eyes. He thought she was cheating when he looks, when he's seeing the board. She thought she was cheating. And so he was winning. So she just went and closed his eyes with her hands. When she did that, unknowingly, what happened? The whole world, the universe went through this sudden blackout like darkness. That is like the sun and the moon. She just closed that light. And all the creation just felt and experienced this sudden darkness. And because of that, the Lord immediately opened his third eye and saved all the creatures, saved all the world. What will happen if suddenly a blackout happened? It's not good, right? So the Lord immediately opened his third eye and saved that. But that impacted the goddess so much that she wanted to rectify her mistake. She wanted to do penance, and she was feeling very guilty that she did this. So she came down to earth, to this spot, Kanchipuram. And she also wanted to win over the Lord because she knew she had upset. So she came down here and she did penance, severe penance. She made a lingam out of sand, a beautiful lingam out of sand, and she did a heavy penance. Her penance was not a small penance. When I say penance and the goddess did penance, it is something very, 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 you can't even imagine. There was a time when she stood on one leg and she did her penance, just on one leg for the whole time. And I believe there was a statue in this Kamakshi temple. It was a golden statue of her standing on one leg. But during the invasion of the Mughals, they had to move it to Tanjore. And it is still there in the Kamakshi temple in Tanjore. There's a statue of her standing in one leg, a golden statue. It's a beautiful statue, I believe. But yes, so this is what she did, stood on one leg and did a severe penance. And while she was doing that, what did she do? She surrounded herself with 5 types of fire called Panchagni. So she surrounded herself with 5 types of fire. And you know what? It's not easy when you're surrounded by fire and you have to do penance. Though she was doing it, Lord Vishnu, her brother, couldn't stand that his sister is, standing in the middle of fire and doing penance. So what did he do? He used the moon that resides on top of Lord Shiva's head and sent the cool effect of that moon to his sister so that the fire does not affect her. How sweet. How sweet indeed, right? And oh, that really touched my heart. So he actually sent the coolness of the moon to his sister so that she could finish that penance without any hindrance. And she doesn't feel the pain. You see, when you do penance, this is after all the goddess, I understand. But we have seen in our stories before, even a mere normal person, if he comes out to do his penance with the God in mind, sincerely, the God does have helped them, right? So same thing here. Lord Vishnu came and helped her, do the penance successfully. And now to test her devotion, obviously the Lord Shiva is not easy, right? He has to test her devotion. So what does he do? The river that flows, she's on the banks of the river. The river that flows, she made the river come as a flood and cause a little confusion there for her. But what did she do? Though the lingam is out of sand, right? Obviously, if the river comes and washes it away, the sand is going to break down and the lingam is going to get destroyed. So she immediately hugs the lingam. She puts her whole hand around it, wraps the lingam around her, hugging it tight so that the water, the river, the flood does not destroy or come close to the lingam. Obviously, Lord is so happy to get a hug from his beloved. He could not take it any longer. He could not make her wait any longer. He immediately comes before her and they get married. Now, this is the little story of how the lingam formed. Now, that is the Ekambareshwarar in Kanchipuram. Now, she did the penance under this mango tree. And this mango tree is still there in Ekambareshwarar temple in Kanchipuram. And it's very, very old mango tree. And it gives 4 varieties of mangoes. One tree gives 4 varieties of mangoes. Can only happen there. And it's a very, very old mango tree. It's still there. That's incredible, right? So she sat under this mango tree and she prayed to Lord Shiva. That is why the name Ekambareshwarar. And he immediately came and gave her the darshan. And she was very happy to get him back. Now, why was she born? Why was the main reason for her to take the Kamakshi Ruba? What is the reason for her birth as Kamachi? Now, there was a asura named Bhandasura, very powerful. He emerged out of the ashes of Kamadeva. Now, Kamadeva is the god of love, right? So he supposedly came in the very beginning when the Lord had to marry the Devi, goddess Parvati, when she was, the mountain king's daughter, the Himavat, his daughter, the princess. At that time, this was the very beginning. So it goes back. I'm just giving you a small, brief story of how Kamadeva became ashes. So that time, Lord Shiva was in deep meditative mode, and nobody can wake him up at that time. Even Nandi cannot. Nobody. Forget it. So the lords were all getting very anxious because the auspicious time was moving away. When the Lord had to marry the Princess Parvati, the auspicious time was getting delayed. So they didn't want to delay it more. So they had to do something. So they went to Kamadeva for help. So they said, to Kamadeva, please, you have to help. You have to shoot your arrow to Lord Shiva and wake him up. Kamadeva was like, are you kidding me? You're kidding me, right? You're asking me to shoot an arrow to Lord Shiva? This is not a joke. And I cannot do it, he said. So they said, no, you have to do it because you're not doing it for anything else. You're doing it for the well-being of the world. So think of that and do it. You'll be fine. We assure you and all that. Poor Kamadeva fell for it. He said, okay. And he came and he shot an arrow at Lord Shiva, who was in deep meditation. And there, once the arrow was shot, Lord Shiva had to open his third eye. What happens when Lord Shiva is angry and opens his third eye? Anybody who's in front of him is ashes, right? That's exactly what happened. He opened his third eye and Kamadeva was ashes. Now from that ash emerged Bhandasura. That is why I had to tell you that story. From that ash emerged Bhandasura. Now you must be wondering what happened to poor Kamadeva. We'll come to that later. Now out of that ash emerged Bhandasura and his brothers, Vishanga and Vishuka. So these three asuras emerged from that ashes of Kamadeva. Now since then, they have been creating a havoc in the world and for the devas. So as soon as they emerged, as usual, they have to do their penance to get more varams, boons, right? So that is exactly what they did. They did severe penance and they asked, they did penance to Lord Brahma. Brahma had to show up and Brahma had to give them the boons they asked. That is the usual protocol. It's always like that. When you do the penance required and the Lord comes in front of you, he has to give you what you ask. To become the most powerful, and then of course they immediately took Indraloka and they drove all the devas out of the heaven. They chased all the devas away and they ruled for thousands of years. Now the devas were all wandering here and there. They all went and fell at Lord Shiva's feet. You have to rescue us. Mahadeva, you have to rescue us. Lord Shiva just smiled and he said, don't worry. The Devi has already taken birth. She has already taken birth as Lalita Tripura Sundari. And she will destroy them when the time comes. Now, Lord Shiva told them exactly why she is. So they couldn't wait to see the Devi in that form. So they all, disguised as parrots. And they all went down, perched on this champaga tree, and they were watching her as she did her penance, her meditation, her puja to the lingam. They were watching this whole scene as it was unfolding. Now, what does Lalita mean? Lalita means she who plays. Plays. Now, all creation, manifestation, dissolution is all considered a play of the day. Isn't it? Mahatripura Sundari is her name. Beauty of the three worlds or cities. That's how beautiful she was. She is. The central goddess to Sri Vidya. Sri Vidya is a branch of the Tantric, Devi Tantric worship. And the ritual is an important aspect of Sri Vidya. Sri Vidya, the auspicious knowledge to attain the Devi. Now Lalita has 15 attendants called Nitya Devis. and she's the ruler of the three Shaktis: Icha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti. Icha Shakti is the will, Jnana Shakti is the knowledge, Kriya Shakti is the action. Now, she pervades all the three worlds: heaven, earth, and the nether world. Now, she is the self-soul, which is present in three states of existence. Jagrat is the awake state, and Swapna is the dreaming state, and Shushta is the deep sleep state. And she pervades the three modes of energy: purity, rajas, and tamas. Purity is sattva, rajas is mobility, and tamas is inertia. This is the goddess Tripura Sundari we're talking about. The whole power, the whole everything put together. And savior of all dominating, important male deities. It's literally the savior of all of them. You'll see why. And now she's only 16 years old. Showed us she that she's just 16 years old. And she rules over everything. She's perfect. She's beautiful. She's complete. Now, what is the meaning of Kamakshi? Kamakshi means Brahma is Ka, A means Shiva, and Ma means Mahavishnu. So all the three originate from the eyes of Kamakshi, is what it means. There's another meaning of Kamakshi. Ka means Devi Saraswati, Ma means Devi Lakshmi, Akshi means eyes. The one who has Devi Saraswati and Devi Lakshmi in her eyes is also Kamakshi. Do you see why I say she's complete? She's everything. She has Brahma, Vishnu, Shivan. She has Saraswati and Lakshmi. Right? She's everything. All knowledge is Saraswati. All wealth and happiness, auspiciousness is Lakshmi. So everything put together is how beautiful Kamachi. Now the war between the goddess and Bhandasura. Let's come to the actual scene. Now, what does Kamakshi do when the time comes, when all the gods come to her? You remember what the Lord said, when the time comes, she will get there and finish the job. Don't worry, he said. So when the time came, Lord Shiva comes, marries her, right? That's when the whole thing, she attains what she wanted. After her penance is done, she attains Lord Shiva, marries him. And that's when the Lord tells her why she came here. What was the purpose? And he tells her, this is why you're here. And she says, okay. And she gets with the thing, what does she do now? The goddess creates all the other devis from herself, one by one. So first being Bala Devi from her heart. Wow. Isn't that something? Shyamala Devi from her intellect. Varahi Devi from her ego. Similarly, many Devis emerged out of her. Now she created 3 chariots, one for her and another 2 apart from hers. Giya Chakra Ratha. Hers is Sri Chakra Ratha. Now Giya Chakra Ratha and Kiri Chakra Ratha. Ratha is chariot. So she gave Shyamala Devi her finger ring. She removes her finger ring and gives it to Shyamala Devi, declaring her the prime minister for this war. And Giya Chakraratha was hers. She gives Shamla Devi the Giya Chakraratha. Now next, Varahi Devi. She makes Varahi Devi the chief of the army. Okay, and that is why her name is Dandanatha Devi. In the scriptures, her name is Dandanatha because she became the chief of the army. And the prime minister being Mantrini Devi. Mantrini. That is why her name is Mantrini in the scriptures. Even in Lalita Sahasranamam, you will come across Mantrini, Dandanatha. So I will go through all that one by one later in Lalita Sahasranamam. So all these, the two chariots she created for these two Devis. And Lalita Devi created 64 million yoginis, 64 million Bhairavis. I'm not talking about one or two. I'm not even talking about thousands. It's millions. Imagine from her body, 64 million yoginis, 64 million Bhairavis, and innumerable Shakti Senas, armies from her body. Can you just even imagine that? How powerful this Lalita Tripura Sundari is. How powerful. And she proceeded to war. Now, from Lalita Devi's spear, she has a spear in her hand, emerged Sampatkari Devi, seated on an elephant. And she just didn't emerge herself. She emerged with millions and millions of elephants behind her. Even if you have all the money in the world, you cannot have an army like Lalita Tripura Sundari. I can write and give it to you. Right? From Lalita's news, awesome, arose Ashwaruda, my favorite. Ashwaruda Devi, seated on a horse. Now she didn't come alone in a horse. Along with her, a big army of horses. Big army of horses. Thousands and thousands of horses behind her. All of them marched. Charged as the roar of drums, bells, roar of lions, trumpeting elephants. Everyone charging. There's a cloud of dust you can see as this army is approaching the enemy. I'm just taking a moment to even picture that, right? Oh, my body is like shaking. I don't know about you, but I'm just feeling it. In all this, amidst all this, there's a lot of singing. There's a lot of chanting, praises. All the devas, the munis, the rishis, all of them are watching the scene because do you think you can get to see this sight every day? No, they don't get to see this sight every day. This is an uproar. This is from the divine. They can't see this every time. So they were all there in celebration of this beautiful, strong, powerful avataram marching. So many manifestations of herself. So many things. The creatures, the devis, the lions, the elephants, the horses, they all came from her. Imagine it. They don't get to see this every day. So they were all there and they were all showering all these flowers as she was standing in her Sri Chakra Ratha. It's a 9-story chariot. Just to give you a picture. this Ratham that she was riding is a 9-storied chariot. It's like a building moving. Imagine that. It's a building. And she was leading everybody. Wow. Meanwhile, Bhandasura has heard of the beauty. Lalita Tripura Sundari approaching him to fight. So he told his brothers Vishuka and Vishanga. So I heard this beautiful lady is coming to fight me. After all, it's a woman. We can deal with her. So Vishanga said, well, she's coming with a lot of women. It's not just her. It's an army of women marching towards us. So he said, you both go and drag that Lalita and come and put her in my feet. Wow. He has no idea what he's dealing with, right? So they didn't want to go. They said, oh, it's only a woman. So we'll send our commander-in-chief. We're not going for this work. So they sent the commander-in-chief of the Asuras to attack. Now, Sampatkari Devi, she shot arrows, piercing his heart. Immediately, he fell dead. Now they sent another Asura, Kurunda. He came. He's an expert in Maya. So he'll stand there, and then when they shoot arrows, he will go somewhere, those kind of disappearing acts he will do. So nobody can really attack him. So he was very expert. He was an expert in Maya, illusion, magician. So they couldn't really, so they can't control him, right? They cannot attack him. But do you think he's a match for the Devis? There's one Devi can handle him, Ashwaruda. She kills him with her one spear. He's gone. Now Bhandasura is furious because his two very powerful Asuras, army men are gone. So he's very furious. He sends his most powerful commanders, 5 of them. Now this is not an ordinary 5. What they would do is, if you attack them, they can release serpents, snakes out of them. And they are poisonous snakes. They all come at once. Thousands of them are released at once. So this is why they are dangerous. So he sent his most dangerous commanders. As the serpents emerged out, Nakuli Devi mounted an eagle. She mounted on an eagle, and out of her came 320 million mongooses. It's not just 320 million mongooses who ate up all the newborn serpents. And she killed all the 5 commanders and chopped off their heads. So simple. One day, Nakuli Devi did the job. Now at the dawn, they are fighting all night. Whole night this fight is going on. At dawn, the daughter of Lalita Ambika, Lalita Devi, Bala Devi, the daughter of Lalita Devi, Bala Devi, she appears. She's actually 9 years old. She's just 9 years old. Eternally 9 years old. She requested her mother's permission to fight. She said, can I also fight? And her mother smiled, who's always got her back, right? She said, okay. And she kills 30 of Bhandasura's sons, while the mother is proudly watching her daughter. Her daughter coolly just slays all the 30 sons of Bhandasura. And now, the proud mother, she saw her daughter kill 30 asuras. She immediately looks at Lord Shiva, who's standing there and watching this beautiful scene too. Both the parents are having their moment of proud. They're proud. So when she smiles at Lord Shiva, out of her smile emerges Lord Ganesha. Out of her beautiful smile emerges Lord Ganesha to do the next thing. What happens next is there is a Vigna Yantra that was created by Vishuka, the Asuran. And Lord Ganesha immediately emerges out of the smile of the Devi and he destroys the Vigna Yantra. And this is also there in the Lalita Sahasranam. Whatever I mentioned today, the story of this war, every phrase is there in Lalita Sahasranam. Lalita Sahasranam given by Hayagriva. Correct? The whole story of the Devi was given by Hayagriva. Lord Hayagriva is the incarnation of Mahavishnu. So now, after Vigneshwara did that, Mantrini Devi, we remember the Prime Minister, Mantrini Devi, kills Vishanga and Dandanatha Devi. We remember Dandanatha Devi, the Varahi, who kills Vishuka. So they both do that job. Brothers are killed. Vishanga and Vishuka slayed. Bhandasura couldn't take it. His brothers, his very dear brothers are killed. His sons are killed. He couldn't take it. Every news is coming to him. He's sitting in the palace thinking he's just a woman. Just a woman. Now, he says, no, I'm not sending anymore. I'll go. It's my turn. I'm going to go. No, none of you can do this job. You're all useless. I will go myself. He's a powerful Asura. Not an ordinary Asura. He's got a lot of strength he gained out of all the boons that he got from Lord Brahma, right? So he has earned a lot of strength by all his penance that he did. Now he came to battle with 1,000 lions. He didn't come alone. He came with 1,000 lions. Lalita Devi, in her Sri Shakra Raja, that is the Ratham, she approached him and she stood there in front of him, facing him with her whole army behind. Yeah, he was a little shaken at that very sight of her. The Ratham that was 9 stories, so tall. He was a little shaken, but he couldn't show it, right? The ego. He couldn't show his fears. Because that is what destroys the human being, the ego. He was there fighting. He started shooting arrows at her. And she didn't have less arrows. She shot equally. Many, many, many to destroy him. She rained arrows on him. And she used the Mahakameshwara Astra. That is a Astra of Lord Shiva. Mahakameshwara Astra to kill Bhandasura. When she laughed, they say when she laughed, Goddess Durga and other deities came out of it, of her laughter. Unimaginable. I always say about the Devi's powers. You can't even imagine her power. You can't even sit in. Even what I'm saying, I don't know if I'm doing justice. I don't know if I'm portraying it right. I don't know. I don't think anybody can. Today I actually prayed to her, I want you to come and do this for me because I'm talking about you, Amma. And I just hope I'm doing justice because this needs all the justice possible. To portray her is not easy. It's look at this. Every sentence gives you goosebumps, right? And there, Bhandasura, the end of Bhandasura, he burns and his own kingdom is burnt. So with that one astram, Mahakameshwara Astra, she kills Bhandasura and the whole kingdom. After that, she brings back Kamadeva back to life. Remember the poor Kamadeva who turned to ashes and then Bhandasura emerged out of the ashes? She brings him back to life. So he's back. And he got united with his wife Rati. His wife Rati was praying. Until then, she was doing her big penance to Lord Shiva. And she got back her husband, Kamadeva. Now, the queen of Kanchi, goddess Kamachi. Anywhere you go to Kanchipuram, there is no other god they will mention. It's like Madurai Meenakshi, like Kanchi Kamakshi. Madurai Meenakshi, Kanchi Kamakshi. She's the queen. Just like she's the queen of Madurai, she's the queen of Kanchi. Lord Shiva, every other person is back seat. She is front seat. You never can forget the 9-story building chariot. She is the queen. Now this temple, Kanchi Kamakshi temple, is very, very, very old. Goes back, we don't even know the number. They don't know where it began. They just don't know a period, you know. They cannot tell you exact period. Well, it started in 6th century. The Pallavas in writing, we have that. 6th century, the Pallavas built the temple. Then continued along by the Cholas, who did more renovations and did more additions to it in the 14th centuries, and then which was continued by the Vijayanagara kings later on, and many, many, many more kings later on, who made a lot of additions to the beautiful temple. The main sanctum is called the Gayatri Mandapa. And there you see Kamakshi Amman sitting in a yogic pose, Padmasana, with forearms, beautiful forearms. In her lower hands are sugarcane and a bunch of flowers. In her upper hands, you have weapons, Pasha and Ankusha. And there is a parrot also near her. Not many can see the parrot very clearly, is what is said. You know what? I have been to this temple with Ambal. She has taken me to this temple. And yeah, she's a beauty. She is, every day they dress her up like a queen. She is the queen. Like I said, the queen of Kanchi is Kamakshi, the young goddess, the beautiful looking beauty personified is Kamakshi. Rich garments always, silk and jewelry. And she wears this beautiful crescent moon in her head. She did not only win over Lord Shiva, she won over all his. That's what Kanchi Periyava used to joke, you know. Aval Chandrani adutanta. So that's how it is. It's the sweetest thing about Kanchi Periyava, how he says he's after all Lord Shiva only, right? That's how he felt. So in the sanctum, there is a silver-colored pillar with a hole in it representing the navel. This is where Sati's Shakti Peedam. This is a Shakti Peedam. So this is where Sati Devi's navel part of the body fell. So this is a Shakti Peedam. And it is said that during the Treta Yugam, King Dasharatha had come here and he did a yagnam here to have children. So in this place, and he was blessed with 4 sons. So she is the Kula Devam for that dynasty, the Surya Vamsham dynasty. And this I am not saying, it is written in the Markandeya Purana that she is the Kula Devam. Can you imagine? Kamachi goes a long way back, and this place has a beautiful history. Now, in front of the idol is a Sri Chakram installed by Adi Shankara. Now, again, to calm the Devi down, he has installed the Sri Chakram in front of her. And this is where he wrote his Saundarya Lahari, that beautiful Saundarya Lahari, praising the Ambal. This is where he wrote that. On the left side of the main idol are Varahi and Arupa Lakshmi. Varahi, the beautiful form of the goddess, and Lakshmi, Arupa Lakshmi. On the right side of the idol is Lord Vishnu and Swarupa Lakshmi. So every year, Lord Shiva and Kamakshi Kalyanam Utsavam happens, takes place in the Panguni Masa, that is during February and March. And the goddess is taken in a boat ride on this day, beautifully dressed up, and the Ratha Yatras happen everywhere. Now, how this happens is the Ratha Yatra in other temples also come out at this time, okay, in Kanchipuram, and they have to go around Kamakshi temple. As she is the prime goddess, like I said, she's the queen. So all the other temple Ratams go around her temple. Think about it. All the other temple Ratams go around Kamakshi temple. And that's a beautiful sight. And there is a beautiful golden Gopuram inside the temple. Now the Raja Gopuram is 172 feet high. It's marvelous architecture by the Vijayanagara empire. Now there is one story of a devotee named Mukan. He couldn't speak, but he had a desire to sing, to write poems, and offer all his poems to the goddess in praise of her. So he prayed to her to give his speech back. And yes, she did. I've always said, right, when you pray, not for yourself, but to give something. Now he gave something to who? He gave all that for us, right? All those praises, all those poems is for us, called the Mukha Panchashati. It's for us, right? So anything you ask for the best of the community, it will be granted. It will be given. Wow. It's incredible. Incredible. Now Ambal made the lingam out of sand, like I said, in Ekambareshwara temple that is there. They don't do abhishekam to it because it's a sand lingam. They don't do abhishekam. And the mango tree is all there still. I told you that. That is in Ekambareshwara temple. Now over here in this Kamachi temple, Adi Shankara had a debate with a Buddhist scholar and he won. So that's another history of Kamachi temple. And the temple is thousands and thousands of years old. Amazing, amazing. So during this Navaratri, 9 nights, it's very auspicious because all the 9 nights you are thinking, honoring, showing your gratitude and offering food, grains, offering everything that you think is special and valuable to her. After all, she's the one. She's the one who has given us everything. Now, Devi is the omnipresent cosmic energy. The whole creation is permeated by this energy. The prosperity that we enjoy in our daily lives is a manifestation of this Devi. Now, the 9 nights we dedicate to her. The Navaratri is dedicated to her. Now, nothing else should be in our minds. Our minds will be clear, only her thoughts. What to do for her? What can I make for her? How can I serve her? Now, people who have gulu, that's all. Why do we keep gulu? Just so that our minds are focused on that. Some people don't keep gulu, they do puja all the 9 nights. All the 9 days they do elaborate puja. Why do they do that? So that the focus is on that. Some people do a lot of fasting. Again, why? Because the focus should be on that. The clearing the mind, clearing of all that impurities. This is the time, very auspicious time when the Devi will listen to your prayers. When you ask her, clear my mind, she will listen to your prayers. After all, if you clear your mind, you'll be doing good for the community. Right? So, little bit of the kalasam. I'm not sure who wants to keep kalasam. If you want to know what the kalasam is, this is a small way to invite the Devi into your house. A lot of people keep kalasam. You don't have to keep golu to have kalasam. I don't have golu, but I keep kalasam. Now the kalasam is a silver pot shaped, a utensil. It's called a kalasam, and chombu, right? And it's placed on a plate of rice filled with water, pacha kalpuram, rose water, cardamom, saffron, and then mango leaves are put outside, and then a coconut, which is smeared in turmeric and with kungumam on it, placed on top of this, and kungumam and chandanam on the kalasam shombu. And then you place this with all due respect, wherever you want it. If you're having the golu, it is usually placed on the topmost step because the Devi is on the topmost. And if you don't have a golu, it doesn't matter. Place her on a pedestal and don't touch her till the 9th day. The 10th day, actually. So the 9 days she's seated there. You've invited her, she'll come there, she is there. So if you all want to do, this is how a kalasam is done. And with all due respect, you just have to invite her and tell her, please come to my house. So she's there in the form of a kalasam. The kalasam is the Devi. So you don't disturb her for 9 days. She sits there. She will take whatever you give. You offer her nevedyam, she will be there and she will take it. Now that is a small thing if you want to do kalasam. I just wanted to give you a small information on that. Now, I have a beautiful song on this beautiful goddess. कंचदलाय दासी कंचदलाय दासी कामाक्षी कंचदलाय दासी कामाक्षी कंचदलाय दासी कामाक्षी कमला मनोहरी त्रिपुर सुंदरी कंचदलाय दाक्षी कामाक्षी कमला मनोहरी त्रिपुर सुंदरी कंचदलाय दाक्षी कुंजर गमने कुंजर गमने मणिमंडित मंजुल चरणे कुंजर गमने मणिमंडित मंजुल चरणे कुंजर गमने मणिमंडित मंजुल चरणे मामव शिव पंचर सुखी पंकज मुखी गुरु गुहरंजनी दुरित भंजनी निरंजनी कंचदलाय दासी कुंजर गमने मणिमंडित मंजुल चरणे मामव शिव पंचर सुखी पंकज मुखी गुरु गुहरंजनी दुरित भंजनी निरंजनी कंचदलाय दासी कामाक्षी कमला मनोहरी त्रिपुर सुंदरी कंचदलाय दाक्षी राका शशिवदने राका शशिवदने सुरतने राका शशिवदने सुरतने रक्षितमतने रत्नसदने राका शशिवदने सुरतने रक्षितमतने रत्नसदने श्रीकांची निवसने श्रीकांची निवसने सुरसने श्रीकांची निवसने सुरसने श्रृंगाराश्रय मंदहसने श्रीकांची निवसने सुरसने श्रृंगाराश्रय मंदहसने एकानेकाक्षरी भुवनेश्वरी एकानंदामृत हरिभास्वरी एकानेकाक्षरी भुवनेश्वरी एकानंदामृत हरिभास्वरी एकाग्रमणोलय करि श्रीकरि एकाम्रेश गृहेश्वरी शंकरी कंचदलाय दाक्षी एकानेकाक्षरी भुवनेश्वरी एकानंदामृत हरिभास्वरी एकाग्रमणोलय करि श्रीकरि एकाम्रेश गृहेश्वरी शंकरी कंचदलाय दाक्षी कामाक्षी कमला मनोहरी त्रिपुर सुंदरी कंचदलाय दाक्षी कामाक्षी. The meaning of this song. beautiful, beautiful song and a beautiful meaning, just like that beautiful song. Kanchadalaya Akshi. Akshi is eyes. One who has large, like lotus petals. Like lotus petals, eyes. The dear one, Manohari, the dear one to Goddess Lakshmi. Tripura Sundari. I don't have to explain that. The walk, her walk, Kunjara Damane, that is like a majestic elephant. And that brought tears to my eyes. Kunjara Damane, Mani Mantita Manjula Charane. That Manjula Charane is her legs are adorned with so many gems and jewels. Charane. So the first Tara, she walks like a majestic elephant. It has that. Have you seen this elephant, the temple elephant, the way it walks? It's got that, it kind of pulls you in. That majestic walk. And her feet is adorned with all those gems. I just want to grab those feet, don't you? Never let it go. And she is the parrot. Pancharasuki. She is the parrot who allowed Lord Shiva to cage her. That is, she allowed him to cage her. She is the lotus-eyed Pankajamukhi. Ranjani delights Guru Kuha and destroys all the durita, that is all the afflictions. She is the spotless one, Niranjani. Her face is radiant like that of the full moon, Shashi. Raka Shashi Vadani. And she is as beautiful. She has this beautiful teeth, a set of teeth when she smiles. The protector of Cupid, Madani. She presides over the Ratna palace, adorned in golden. She speaks gently. Manda Hasane. That's the verse. Full of love. Shringarashraya. She's the form of single as well as many. Eka Nekshari. Bhuvaneshwari is ever flowing. The world and who's ever flowing. She's the world and who's ever flowing. And she's a stream of bliss. Ananda Amruta. The lustrous one. Bashwari. And she attaches herself to those who worship her with devotion. Ekagra Manolaya. Sri Kari. She's the bestower of prosperity. Sri is Lakshmi, right? And Griheshwari, Shankari. She's the goddess of Shankari. I think this song actually tells you the whole story of who she is, right? Her beauty, that she's a parrot of Lord Shiva, who she is allowed to be caged. And it's beautiful. My favorite line is Kunjara Gamani, Mani Mandita Manjula Charan. I love that. I love that phrase. I love that line. I hope you enjoyed the session. Madhyoli Charanam Jainandalana.